Welcome to first official session. So we're doing these weekly, every Thursday. Hopefully you've pre-prepared your tomatoes as per the recipe. We've got, so I've done half the recipe because it makes quite a lot. There's only two of us in there. So keep them where they are. Just take your rice and then just sprinkle it evenly. Just push them in. Don't try and disturb the tomatoes. These take 25 minutes in the oven, so I want to get them in before we start. So if you're doing normal recipe or half the recipe, so 300 mils for half, and then 600 for the full recipe. So boiling water. You can use stock if you prefer, but I think there's enough flavour in the dish already. So just carefully pour the water in. Try not to disturb any. Nice and even. If you've got any rice just sticking out, just push it in. So it's covered in the water. Once you put your water in, get a couple of sheets of tin foil. Or if you're using a casserole dish, obviously lid. So nice and tight over so there's no steam escapes.
Hi, Mick. Did you have a question, Michael?
Yeah, my question was the rice soaked before you, chef, sprinkle it on top of the tomatoes?
It was just washed.
All right. Okay. Cool. That's it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So your oven should hopefully still be on. If you ramp the oven up to 220, so nice and tight, and then we'll get that into the oven. Got to set the timer for 25 minutes, so we are okay. So hopefully you've all got your rice there, or you're almost in there. So while the rice is in, let's run through the ingredients. So ground mince. So I've got this from the butcher, a nice leg of lamb. Garlic, and I've already picked the thyme, so I've put that already in there. Feta, which we're just going to crumble in there. Salt and pepper. I put in there breadcrumbs. For me, I don't really put breadcrumbs in there because, you know, it tends to get a bit stodgy for me, but depending on the quality of your lamb, it might just help hold it together. So I'm not going to put that in there, that's up to you. So what we'll do is we'll just put everything in to the bowl. And we're going to get a little bit messy. So before we, once everything's mixed in there, so as I said, there's some alternatives. So if you don't like lamb, we had beef, you can use pork, chicken, turkey, up to you. Again, this is the recipe that we go with, but again, it's down to you guys, whatever you like, what preferences. You know, cooking at home is you know, a bit of experiment and having a bit of fun. Salt and pepper. Don't need too much salt, especially if you're using feta. But again, if you're using a strong cheese, you just need to hold back on the salt. Okay, so before we get stuck in there, you just put frying pan down to you what size you use. So the bigger, the more you get in there. You might have to do this in batches. Frying pan on medium heat, so it should be really nice and hot by the time you we come to pan fry them. So get your hands in there, just have a plate to the side, because once you form the ball, you've got something to put them. So just get your hands in there, mix away. So hopefully you've washed your hands. Right, so as soon as you're happy with it, it's all nicely incorporated. So again, as big or small as you want. I might do some little patties rather than meatballs, because these will cook a bit quicker. So little mini burgers size. Again, this can be. So I'm only going to use half this mix because this will be fine in the fridge overnight. You can do this the night before. Obviously, I've only got a few patties, so I'll just go through that with you. Right, so just check the heat. Should be nice and hot. You don't want to be smoking. So a little bit of olive oil, not too much. We're not deep frying. Okay, so when the oil starts to separate or have a little bit more movement in the pan, you know you're good to go. So always start in the same spot. Tend to start at the top. Give that little sizzle. And then go anti-clockwise. So you know when you come to turn it, you know which one to turn first, and so on, and go around. So you're getting that even colour all the way through, all the way around your meatball or your patty, whatever you're doing. You need to turn it up because you don't want these to stew. How are you looking? Yeah, not too bad. Wash your hands once you've been touching raw meat. We've got 30 minutes for the rice, from when I put it in, not from when you guys put it in. Okay, so looking at the first one that you put in, that's the one that you check. Yeah, you want it nice golden brown. It's not golden brown. Where we put the first one in, check that, nice golden brown. Just be careful if the pan is spitting a little bit. Don't burn yourself. So as I said, you can do these patties, burgers, meatballs, stuffed into pita bread. You know, very versatile That's the kind of colour you're looking for. Nice. Yeah, golden brown. If you've got heat spots, they're like mine. Okay, so I've just taken mine off the heat because the residual heat in the pan will keep cooking. I mean, they're not massive patties. You got to keep that little bit of moisture in the meat. So we've got now 10 minutes of the rice to be finished. So we'll just flash them back in the oven when the rice comes out. Because the rice needs to settle for about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes once it comes out of the oven. Fire questions away. I mean, the point of this is, you know, to show some basic skills. I know there's a few chefs on here, which is great to see. So as I said, this is, you know, aimed at all levels of home cooks, you know, amateur. So, you know, these classes will vary. You know, last week we'd done as a trial, we'd done carrot cake muffins. Next week we're going to do chorizo pea omelette, but it's more like a frittata. So, you know, again, very versatile dishes that can be used for lunch, dinner. Some of them will be breakfast. You know, I might do some basic knife skills for the students that are not comfortable with, you know, sort of chopping or slicing, dicing, whatever it is. I know Lewis has got to do some marinades, class of marinades and rubs and spices, which can be used in-house or it can be used for your barbecue. You know, coming into the summer months, I'm not sure how long we've got to be stuck indoors for, but you know, those kind of hints and tips and tricks can stay with us however long.
What would you recommend are the best kind of meat to cheese pairings? So obviously you've done lamb and feta, but obviously there was other cheeses and other meats available. But how would you pair them? What cheese with what meat of the different kinds? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So lamb, feta or goat's cheese, or a really nice sheep's cheese. It's coming from the same milk, like a Bexwell, pecorino. Beef, you could, you know, a really nice mature cheddar, a blue cheese, go with that umami. I mean, pork could be, yeah, again, mature cheddar. Turkey, I've not really paired with. It could be a nice aged parmesan, something like that. So yeah, I mean, you just think about the meats and or the cheese that you would have with a wine. You know, the more acidic, sharper, you want to have a little bit more of a young wine. And then the darker blue cheese, more with a, you know, a red wine or a port. Well, you know, whatever your preference is. I mean, it's about experimenting. Some of the more obscure things, pairings that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Sometimes the best ones that you come across.
If you're going to put a sauce of it, would you put like a nice tomato sauce?
I would maybe just do like a tzatziki. Yeah, yogurt cucumber, mint, garlic. Although, as you're aware, there's quite a bit of garlic in all of it, so maybe stay away from the garlic with your tzatziki for this dish. I mean, for the vegan, you could use chickpeas, butter beans, white beans, put them into a patty style, lentils, not overcooked, but crushed lentils. Some of that could work. Vegan cheese, it's not something that I would buy in the supermarket. But there is a lot more variety on the shelves nowadays. Well, I mean, I've been eating a lot more vegan, vegetarian dishes. I only have meat once or twice a week. Just being more conscious, buying better quality meat or fish rather than buying rubbish, and it's you're not getting the benefits of the quality, the flavour. So I use the local butcher, who's quality assured, and he gets most of his stuff from Lake District. So it's a supplier that I used to use at an old job as well. So knowing it's a lot better quality.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
But it's not to do with what you're cooking at the moment. Like risottos, can you cook it without using alcohol? And what would you use instead?
I wouldn't replace it. I would just add the stock as you would normally once you've. Instead of adding the alcohol and cooking it out and reducing it, I would just add your stock straight away. I don't know if there is a replacement. It depends. I mean, you could use a non-alcohol, but I mean, I wouldn't mess about with that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries. On your stock, the stock is the most important part of your risotto. If you've got a rubbish stock, you're going to end up with a rubbish product. So, take it out. Don't take the tin foil off. Just let it sit there 5-10 minutes. Let the steam just continue cooking. This is almost I don't want to jinx myself, a foolproof way of cooking rice rather than doing it in the pan. So let me just take that out. You switch your oven off once your rice is out. If you want to reheat your meatballs, because they've been sitting there at the side, you can still turn your oven off, and then the heat, the residual heat in the oven will just continue cooking them, and it'll be a way to cook them because it'll be a softer heat.
Can I ask something, Chris? Sorry. Hi. Would you like instead of water on the rice, would you put some stock, like a vegetable stock or chicken stock, or?
Yeah.
Good?
You can have a nice stock. For me, I've done this dish a couple of times, and I've done it with stock and I've done it with water. And to be honest, the flavours that are in the dish already from the tomatoes doesn't make a massive difference. But if you've got some stock to use up. So I mean, I think hopefully these sessions will be quite popular. So already the next week's dish is already on there, ready to be booked. Just be careful when you pull that tin foil back, as the trap steam in there. Don't burn yourself. It might need a little bit longer. There's a lot of liquid come out of the tomatoes. I'll just show you anyway. You see there's still a bit of liquid in there for the rice to absorb. I'll pop that back in the oven. hopefully yours is on that. So while that's out resting, you can put your meatballs into the oven, just warm them through, and then you can eat when you like. It's up to you, obviously. Thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you found it useful. Again, you know, as Lou says, you know, any constructive feedback, please ping it over, and we take it into account. Bearing in mind, you know, it's not set up as a professional kitchen. We've got to adapt to what we've got. We're all in this. We all have a, you know, kitchen at home, so it's adapting to what you have, the space that you've got. You know, we're not going to make these overcomplicated. So yeah, hopefully you found this rewarding.